time, I'd like to call the Drainage Board meeting to order with the approval of the July 1st minutes.
Recording in progress.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for the July 1st meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Surveyor's report.
Mr. Chairman, the first thing is item A, payment to contractors. You see the list there in front of you. Mr. Law has been pretty active. If anybody has any questions, myself or John will try to answer them based. A lot of retention mowing on this one.
That's a lot of work that month. I assume the money was all in the funds today,
In these accounts, yes.
yeah, and these accounts, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment to contractors as outlined.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Change of assessments.
Before you see change of assessments, there's a couple different years here. We've changed some. Am I correct, Savannah? Wasn't there some for 24 pay 25 and 25 pay 26? So we're able to go in and change the assessment obviously for this year, for next year, and then we're even able to go in and for 25, pay 26, even though it wouldn't start till 26. So most of these are billing 25 and paying in 26. So we're handling somebody's work for them.
So some of them are being deleted out of the system. I see where it says delete. Different ones.
There are some that you delete and then you add.
They're like
Yes.
split.
Split, you know.
Right, yeah, partial numbers.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve the change of assessments as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the change of assessments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
If I can just make one comment, we are looking at the fund accounts pretty hard here. And, for next month's meeting, probably on the agenda for us to have a discussion in regards to some funds in some of the accounts, whether we need to raise them or keep them where they're at, if we feel comfortable. But there's some that, Mr. Law has used or we have used, that we haven't used in quite a while, and there just wasn't enough money to take care of it. But we did, so we need to have a discussion probably next month in regards to some funds.
That would be on the rural ditch assessments.
It'd be, yeah, both urban and rural. In the past, we've always used what's called the General Drain Improvement Fund, if
Yes.
things went over to make up the difference. The new auditors kind of wants to change things up a little bit, so that's kind of what we're gonna be talking about.
I noticed that we don't have on our list of all of the systems, we don't have the balance of the general fund anymore.
Yeah,
You know, we
that's
always
what
used-
we're gonna, that's what,
We always used to have that,
yeah. That always used to be right at the top.
and what,
What's at the bottom?
Now it's at the bottom?
Now it's at the bottom.
no, then I just said we got there.
Oh, it's not on that one? But, yeah, the one I have in my hand is the one that we're redoing, Tom, and your question will be on the
Yeah.
new one that we
No,
will
I would
be
get-
showing
you
the
know.
board next month, and I'll have a little bit more information on it regards to each ditch. Basically, we're kind of going back to the old one, but it'll be more up to date. And like I said, Savannah's done a nice job going through each account. And John Law and I and Savannah have sat down along with Dee and looked at these accounts. And some of them need to be on hold and some of them need to be taken off hold. And some need to be looked at to see if we want to
Greece.
increase. So, but this is sort of what the new form will look like. Be nice colored and all that, where it'll be easy to read.
Thank you.
I presume we'll talk about it next month, but it's okay to have a negative balance for a while, isn't it, Marcel?
Yes, sir.
On an individual fund?
As long as the general fund balance that was discussed is in the black,
Okay,
the Board of Accounts has not raised a concern in the past.
okay. Sounds good.
We're meeting tomorrow morning with the auditor to look at some of these and try to, all of us get on the same page here. You know, Mr. Murphy does an outstanding job, but sometimes he's not familiar with how the drainage board works, or, you know, even some other departments, how it works. And
We're weird or odd because our drainage fund's set up by statute, right? So we've got our own rules, our own statutory rules as far as the funds, the assessments, and then how we use them. So everything gets approved by this board for the drainage, for the cleaning out, the whatever, as opposed to going through the county council. So it's a bit of an oddity, but I guess that's what we'll talk about on Wednesday or tomorrow, whenever.
So that would be, like, what you're gonna pursue is like for next month, just like this gas ditch at $1.25, we might have to.
yeah, but, yeah, after we meet with the auditor tomorrow, then we'll sit back down, Savannah and Dee and I and John, and go through them, which basically we have already. Like I said, Savannah's done a nice job, but we just want to talk to John, make sure he's on the same page. And I know Marcel and I have had some discussions in regards to this. But yes, Tom.
Yeah. Yes, there's definitely no doubt that there's some that could be.
Well, and it's a couple of these funds are funds that John hasn't spent any money in them in years, and all of a sudden he has to do something, and, you know,
Yep.
prices are going up, you know, labor's going up. So hopefully we'll have a nice conversation. I think we approved the assessments, didn't we? Yes.
Yes.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
The ranch subdivision,
Mr. President, I need to recuse myself from this request, this action.
so moved.
Hi there, Steve Ruby, 315 West Jefferson, West Jefferson Boulevard, South Bend, Indiana. Working with Aben Marsh Consulting, representing the petitioner Dustin Brown with Legacy Homes. Before you see an encroachment to the drainage easement, this first item here is to allow for an extension of a pipe from what is the ranch subdivision that sits west of Gas Ditch. This allows for the pipe to encroach within the current easement of the gas ditch. Second item up there is the outlet to the regulated drain. This is to allow for the overflow from the drainage basin that would be a part of the ranch subdivision to drain into the gas ditch on overflow conditions, whereas the basin will stage up and then overflow a volume of water into the gas ditch. We do have a property that sits between the ranch subdivision, Mr. Costello's property. This is where we've got a letter of intent to allow an easement across his property to the gas ditch easement area. And this will allow that pipe extension across his property and drain into the gas ditch. So the two items we're asking, number one, an encroachment into the gas ditch drainage easement as it currently stands. The second is to allow for it to outfall into the gas ditch itself. Is there any questions?
The distance from the gas ditch into the subdivision,
It's approximately 400 feet, plus or minus.
and is that 70-foot wide?
No, that would be a 20-foot wide easement to allow for the pipe to cross. And then I think the 70-foot easement is the encroachment into the gas ditch easement with the pipe. Does that make sense?
I misspoke earlier when I didn't see this last page, so that kind of is that handles the easement over the pipe. I thought that one did, but this one does.
John, do they have that draft exhibit then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yep.
So it would be a 20-foot wide easement going to the gas ditch easement, and then the encroachment would occur from where the easements meet into the actual ditch itself.
Steve, is that something who maintains the pipe then from the gas ditch to the subdivision?
That, I believe, would be on the ranch subdivision ownership as part of the agreement with Mr. Costello and the landowner. He's granting the easement. It would service the ranch, therefore I believe the ranch would take care of that.
Accessibility to that pipe.
Accessibility, there's an easement granted around the basin that's being proposed, and there's access in from the private streets that are in that subdivision. So they could gain access through the easements granted around the basin itself and then to the pipe itself.
At one time when this was being discussed, there was maybe possibility of putting a gate on that, to control the flow into the gas. Is that still?
That's changed now. It's just going to be through a staged release. So as the basin rises in elevation, there'll be a release to a 6-inch pipe, and then as it gets higher, it will release into a 12-inch, allowing more, but then it's maxed out, I believe, at 4.1 cubic feet per second, allowed to go into gas ditch, which is currently, I believe, lower, I have the numbers here, lower than the pre-development rate of almost 15.06 cubic feet per second. So it's significantly lower than what's currently releasing through just natural drainage.
Because at one time, we were concerned about the elevation of that pipe. Isn't that true, John? I know Mr. Meters Sky was concerned about that also.
Yes, and we have worked through that with Sky. He has looked at the drainage and has given a kind of a favorable approval for that.
So he's approved the drainage for the subdivision?
Not yet. He's in progress as the plans are finalized and the final plan set goes in, but he has given a verbal agreement. We've been working with him to work through this process. And we've changed the elevations of the basin, so there's no longer the concerns with some of the backflow and that gate that you speak of.
And Bobby, I think originally there was also a perimeter drain around some of the septic systems. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was that eliminated? Or?
That has been eliminated on roughly 12 or 13 lots, if I remember right. And those homes are actually going to a cluster system, which will be elevated and raised to higher portions of the ground. So there are no immediate septic fields adjacent to the basin itself or anything that would release to that.
And that was the preference of the health department.
Yeah, and that was, I remember in discussion with the health department, they were concerned about the original plans, and then I believe they recommended the cluster system.
Correct.
But they haven't signed off on that yet, huh?
We're working through that process right now. It will take some time because of the state approvals and information back and forth.
Yep.
described as Lot 1, Costello's Adams Road minor subdivision. It looks like what you're asking for is at the southern end of that to get into the gas ditch?
Correct.
What is that strip of land? Is it?
It's just an open, maintained mowed grass lot.
Grass lot?
Yeah.
Is it a buildable lot? Is it right away? I mean,
On Costello's property?
yeah.
He has actually have his personal home at the north end of the lot, and then there's a basin or like a pond that exists there. This is south of the pond yet.
So it's accessible with the maintenance and,
Pardon?
the area that you're asking for is accessible for maintenance down the road?
It's accessible through the ranch subdivision, which would be the ranch subdivision as it's gonna get platted. There would be access easements from the private street in and to the basin, and from the basin area, which has a easement around the basin, it would then have access from the basin over to the gas ditch area through easements.
We don't have a copy of the actual easement, so if you guys want to approve this, my recommendation is you make it contingent upon us getting a copy of the easement that sets forth that the ranch subdivision will maintain the easement and the drainage infrastructure within the easement. I mean, I got the legal description, which is all well and good, but, I mean, what we're really concerned about is making sure that that pipe continues to function, that lot's mowed.
I don't think he's got the only house on here. Per se.
It's gonna be access.
I've looked at it, and getting access to the pipe from the ranch subdivision isn't a big deal. It's just, you just go around the basin and then make a sharp left, so.
All right. It doesn't show all that on here, so.
No. I should have included that's my fault. I didn't even think about including the plans for that, but
I have a 11 by 17 exhibit. I only have one copy, but I can share this with you if that would help. Yeah, so they come through here, they access either here or here, and wrap around and come
I
over.
wonder if I understand. Even where is this pond that this pipe's?
basically, this is the subdivision. We got access here and here, so it'll just be coming down and then moving around.
Where's the gas ditch here? Oh, hey, okay, this is Costello's property.
So the house is right here. Big pond
And
over here.
I do have an aerial here of Costello's property if you would like to see that as well.
So this subdivision here is already existing then.
This is Costello's house.
Okay. And we're going across.
Yeah, right
This
here.
one right here.
You just tell me, like.
And he's granting permission.
They've got that all legalized.
And I do have a letter of intent to cross Mr. Costello's property from Mr. Costello, if you would like to see that as well.
I believe you've got the letter of intent, but we need the easement. So like I said, I'd make it contingent on an actual easement being recorded that says the ranch subdivision is gonna maintain the easement and the drainage infrastructure within the easement. That's what we need if you guys are okay with this.
Yeah, it's 20 foot wide and 386 feet long.
It's fine with me.
Whatever it is.
Steve, probably after this pipe is put in, they'll just obviously cover it back up and grow grass back over it
Correct.
again. You know, because you won't even see it there, you know.
Yeah.
Because John and I have been out there, well, John's probably been more than I have, but I've been out there 2 or 3 times, and that's probably what I would do is.
Yeah, it's just gonna be returned to mobile lawn for
Yeah.
Mr. Costello.
And he wouldn't build back,
No.
not back that far on the lot.
We need documentation that the drainage board has.
So,
Correct, and my understanding is there's an LOI, but there's no actual easement. So you can make the motion that we'll approve it contingent on them recording an easement that says that the ranch subdivision will maintain the easement and the drainage infrastructure in the easement.
so until the primary plat is granted for the ranch, which we're working through that process, this easement, we wouldn't want to record until that goes through, just so we don't tie up the current landowner's property, just on an off chance that the subdivision would not be approved. So we're kind of being cautious with that approach, but once the plat is been accepted on the primary, then we would take this into recording so that it becomes official. So we're just asking for the approval right now to cross, contingent upon, obviously, the easement being established.
After advice from council.
See if I can word it right. After advice of council, I make a motion to approve subject to recording.
Contingent upon the recording of an easement that makes the ranch subdivision responsible for the maintenance of the easement and the drainage infrastructure therein.
So worded.
So worded.
I'll second.
Motion was made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Were you able to hear that?
Yes,
Okay, good.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Drain pipe outlet into the regulated drain application.
Pretty good, yeah.
Wait, that's ours
That's
now.
all.
Steve?
Steve?
That's mine.
Is that-
You can't have it back.
Sorry, Steve.
It doesn't work like that. Stop taking my papers.
That was both of those.
We took care of both of them, I guess. I guess we're ready, privilege of the floor. State your name and address, please.
My name is George Elia. I live at 27520 Quinn Road, North Liberty, Indiana. I'm here just on behalf of the solar projects that are coming around the area. And want to encourage you guys to look at putting something in there to where the solar companies that come in have to fix or retile fields, because people that, like me, that still have viable ground, if they damage a tile, could ruin it. I understand that you guys aren't responsible for paying for it, but if you hold these companies, in my opinion, to some sort of statute that they have to flag out, mark all the tile and any damaged or damaged in the future, because some of you may not notice right away because of, you know, in a heavy wet year, you're gonna find it, but in a dry year, you may not. Just something that holds them accountable to it, that they have to fix it and mark it out. Because I think you'll lose a lot more land than what they wanna just put under solar. So I encourage you guys to look at some way of keeping these companies at the flame, you know, keeping them responsible for damages that they do. I think there's gonna be more problems with these going in than just a few broken field tile that's gonna affect neighbors. I think there's gonna be a lot of tile that get broke and suck in the topsoil. You know, start getting it into the ditches. At least that's what I've heard from Jasper County surveyor down there. He has told me that he's doing a lot of fighting there. It eats up more of his time that way, because he has to go around and inspect all that stuff and take a look at it. I just would encourage you guys to talk about it and see if there's anything you can put in there in a law to where these guys have to take care of private tile. I understand usually it's between landowners for a lot of that stuff, if damages get done, but not when a company comes through and puts in something that's for public use. I see it when, in my trade, if we, if we build a building and they go to put a tile in, or when they dig it up, they have to fix or repair that tile. Why isn't this, this could be the same thing, in my opinion.
Mr. President, do you want me to respond?
Please.
So we don't actually write any laws here, we just implement the laws. However, we have worked with our county council so that when the resolutions have been passed by the solar companies, the current ones that have been going in, to make sure that they've got language in their resolutions that make the solar companies responsible for fixing the drainage tiles. Now, if it's private tile, as you know, the drainage board does not get involved, so it's gonna be on the landowners to make sure that if that topsoil is getting sucked in, you guys identify and you report it. But it is in the resolutions for the county, so the county council, which makes the laws, has already covered this, and the solar companies and the resolutions that have been passed thus far in St. Joe County have stated that it is their responsibility.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to voice my opinion is it's gonna be around my property quite a bit, so, yeah, just, there's a lot of people that are concerned with it, that's all, just wanna make sure that if you guys can make sure and talk to the county council and make sure that they have some sort of another way of keep backing it up, that's all, just, I understand, it's private and that you deal with that, so, that's all, just wanna voice my concern, let you guys know that, that's a concern, so.
We did work with the area plan on rewriting the solar ordinance for the county, and we did everything we could to make sure that all of that stuff you mentioned is covered in the new ordinance. And in that ordinance, we can hold them responsible for private tile, just as a ordinance for the county.
I appreciate that. I haven't been to an area plan meeting in a while. So,
George, were you at any of the county council meetings when were you at any of their meetings when
Yeah,
this was discussed?
yeah, I've been, since, I think, March, I think I've attended almost all of them. Almost all of them. There's been a few that I did not catch, but,
Because Mr. Levin did a great job in explaining it, and as John Law did also, but that was a big concern of ours a couple months ago, 3 months ago, when all this started. There was no language in there protecting us or you or other residents in regards to private or our own drains. And so the county council did put it in their resolution, and as John indicated, area plan has put it in their ordinance. So it is, you are being protected, as Mr. Levin has indicated.
and I appreciate that. I just was hoping that, just to come up and, let you guys know that, if there's any way that I can help, like going to the county and making my concerns there too, like I have,
The best thing you could do is come up with a map of the tile on your property and just make that available to the solar engineers when they're designing the fields
Sure.
next to you, so they know what's there. That's
Okay.
gonna be the biggest issue, is nobody knows there's a tile in that field.
okay?
Cause it's changed hands numerous times and just nobody knows it's there.
Yep,
So that's gonna be the biggest issue, but if we know they're there and we can get them a map and let them know that they're there, I think they will do everything they can to, well, sure, their solar arrays do not interfere with that drainage if they know it's there,
sure, okay,
okay?
yep.
So that's what you could, I guess,
Map out,
Yeah.
kind of get a map of what you have and
yeah, or what's
what,
on your field
yeah,
privately.
yeah, what I
Yeah,
have.
they've got our maps. So,
Sure, yes.
okay.
Yeah, just what I meant was by my fields, what I have on my fields that go across that I can know. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, something I can do.
And
So,
same with your neighbors, if they know they're there, just make sure that the company's aware of it.
sure. Well, thank you guys for your time and the hard work you do put into keeping everything.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I've got a question for the board and council. I was approached by, you know, John Wolf.
John Wolf, yeah.
He approached the board, I don't know how long ago, in several years.
Or drainage board?
Yes,
Okay.
got a wetland, not a wetland, he's got a wet spot, these fields, got tile plugged up. And he commenced to put a new, you know, new tiles.
New tiles,
He gets stopped by USDA every time he goes. He's got his machine there. He said if he turns that wheel, there's a pickup there watching it. And he gets a call from
NRCS.
Mr. Mangus from down at the USDA office.
Oh,
And he's got to stop. And this Mr. Mangus keeps telling him that he cannot drain that. It's considered a wetland. There's already a tile in there. And they stop him every time that he goes down. And the tile that's in, of course, was years ago, and was only a 4-inch. I don't know what size he's trying to go through again to repair that. But they stop him constantly, and he asks, you know, where does he really stand on that? At one time, it was tillable, but, you know, the tile plug up is sort of, you know, hollow. I was under the impression that if there was an existing tile there, you could repair it or replace it.
my understanding, that existing tile, if it was put in pre-December 23rd, 1985, that's the magical date if that tile was put in before that
That's when the
date,
Clean Water Act was signed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then that should be considered either a non-wetland or a farm wetland.
That he could,
Yeah, so it depends, I think, depends when that tile was installed
Do
originally.
you know, does Wolf go through NRCS?
I don't know, John.
Because NRCS are responsible for the ag rules on that, and they're the ones that would make the call on whether the tiles, you know, qualifies, and if they fix it and it drains, all that, so.
You know, like what Randy just mentioned in 1985, if that tile was in there before that per se year, he still ought to be able to maintain it.
Correct.
Maintain or
Replace,
improve or replace
yes.
it,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know the situation why there would be a truck, you know, on site watching him and all that. There's,
Yeah.
somebody must have turned him in, one. And two, I don't know if that agency, which would be probably IDEM or Army Corps, if they know there's a tile in there. You know, they probably just saw him out there working in the wetland and assumed he was, but I don't know the
individual
situation.
Has the, per se, power over whatever, there's Mr. Mangus. He's the one that causes all the problem. He's done it on a couple waterways right in my area, all seeded and done, he doesn't approve it. Take it out, do it over, even though we felt it was done to specification. So that's what he's working against. I feel, my opinion, it's one individual.
It is private tile?
Yeah, it's on his property, on John Wolf's property.
private tile and private ditch.
Yep. 1985,
December 23rd, 1985.
December
Right.
23rd, 1985. Remember that as my secretary out there. I will,
Marcel, we don't have it as a board, there's no, anything that we could do to help out Mr. Wolf?
Not if it's a private tile, private drain.
I didn't think we wouldn't have any authority on that at all.
Right. I guess I just recommend him talking to Debbie, you know, NRCS,
Yeah,
and see if, you know, if they can help.
Yeah.
Whether that
Okay.
works.
December 23rd, 1985. Okay, that was it.
Well, then, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
We made, say it all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.